All right. Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler, reacting to the Detroit Lions. Big time 24-9 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday Night Football. Ziggy, kind of a disappointing game, right, for all the hype. I mean, it was fun. There's definitely some moments of excitement in this one, but it felt like we were going to get, a little more explosion from these two teams. And tonight, the Detroit Lions, I took a picture in the first quarter right when they were showing all the teams because I wanted to make sure I didn't misread this and didn't forget it for when we hopped on the show. But the Detroit Lions tonight come into this game and their secondary is missing DJ Reed, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Avante Maddox, and Terry and Arnold. And they're replaced by Rock Yassin, Thomas Harper, Eric Hallett, Arthur Mollett, and Amik Robertson. And a couple of those guys got hurt tonight as well. So Tampa Bay in this game has one of the most explosive offenses in football with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out. And the Lions with this ragtag group in the secondary.
Okay, hold on a second. I do not want to hear any Arthur Mollett slander after the game he just had.
No, but it's unbelievable. I don't know how the Lions, if the Vikings were in this situation with our 5 starting defensive backs out, we're getting mauled. I don't know what it is, and it actually bothered me.
I can tell you in 4 letters what it is.
Go ahead.
MCDC. No, when you have a head coach like Dan Campbell, what do we say every single week? No matter who is playing for this team, they are going to come out with their heads on fire and play their absolute best football. And I think that plays a huge part in explaining why for the Lions, every time players get injured, every time it's next man up, like Rock Yassin is a solid player. He is not elite.
Yeah, solid.
But when guys are playing their absolute hardest in a defense that's very well coordinated, I think you can't forget their defensive coordinator either. Going from a linebackers coach to what like Kelvin Shepard's been able to do. The Cowboys, I mean, the Lions are just the best coach team in football. I'll say it after this game.
No, and I'm not going to argue with it either. I know me and you have our separate opinions on certain Dan Campbell decisions, and it doesn't make sense, I know, because you go by the numbers and I kind of go by feelings, which doesn't make sense for most people, but makes sense to me. But they're the best coach team in football, and time again, I mean, it's a little disappointing that Detroit's going through this same story with the injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Fortunately, it hasn't impacted the line as much as it did last year. I mean, it kind of has with Davenport and McNeil still not back. But like Aiden Hutchinson is just such a huge loss last year. But I'm watching the game and I'm seeing a couple people in the comments here.
Was back this game.
Was he back? I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
He had a really important deflection against the Bucs on 3rd down.
Yes. I'm sorry. I mean, he was out earlier to start the year for a handful of games. But I'm watching this game, and someone mentioned in the chat, it's like, you don't know these are preseason guys who are out there, it feels like. You're watching the preseason game, and the stars come out, and I don't know how they do it, and it bothered me because it reminded me of last season when the Vikings went into Detroit, and it's just like no reason that Sam Darnold shouldn't have lit that team up, and they come out with their hair on fire, crowds going crazy. You have to give credit. That Detroit crowd, man, they always bring it in these spots, especially now that the team is good. But the Lions are in a great position here now to compete for the 1 seed again. Like, this was a game that I think could help determine the 1 seed. It might come down ultimately between the Packers and Lions for all we know at this point. But you go into Detroit, as long as they have, at least their second stringers playing, it seems like they're going to have enough to be competitive out there. I was just blown away at how they shut down Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying all week long that I thought the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were being overrated when they're being put number 1 in everyone's power rankings. I did not see the Lions coming out and holding Baker Mayfield to 30 passing yards in the first half. Like, the way this Lions defense played this game and really neutralized the Bucs offense, if the Lions offense had been just a little bit more consistent this game could have easily been 28-3, 31-3 going into the 3rd quarter or in the middle of the 3rd quarter. Like, I actually thought, surprisingly, of the concerns I had for the Lions leaving this game, and there aren't a lot, it's how reliant on big plays the offense was. But nevertheless, when you limit Tampa Bay's offense like this, we kept saying in the preview, right? It might come down to a game-winning drive from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They didn't get a chance. They didn't even get close.
No, and when you're watching that game take shape too, the Lions, they just outgained them at one. It ended up 379 to 251, which is pretty large difference. But at one point, it was like over 200 yards difference in the first half. They showed the stats at halftime, and it was like 250 to 45 or something. Detroit absolutely could have ran away with this one, and I actually thought the Bucs defense did a decent job of, and I think Aikman said it as well. They were getting crushed, but they were doing just enough to keep the Tampa Bay in the game. And Baker was just off tonight. Like, that was one thing. Everyone was like looking forward to MVP level Baker Mayfield. He didn't have a good game. He ended the night 28 for 50 for 228, a touchdown, an interception, fumbled the ball that they recovered one time. But he was missing a lot of throws. And as someone who was in the middle of a fantasy comeback with Emeka Egbuka tonight, it just felt like time and time again, Baker had guys not just open, but wide open, and he was overthrowing them. It's not something that you're going to panic about if you're a Bucs fan. You're allowed to have a bad game. But for Baker, I think the overarching story for Tampa Bay is if Mike Evans, we'll see how long he's out, because that concussion looked really bad. We don't know about the shoulder yet. And Chris Godwin's hurt too. They need MVP level Baker Mayfield to be able to beat teams like the Lions, to beat teams we're assuming like the Packers and Eagles down the stretch. And that version of Baker tonight, I don't even know if Tampa wins one game in the playoffs.
Well, the defense held up their end of the bargain for this game, right? They sacked Jared Goff 4 times. They forced 2 turnovers in the first half. They held the Lions to 3 for 13 on third down. They had a great fourth down stop, I believe, inside the 20 or very, very close to it. The defense played well enough for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win the game. And I don't want to put all of the offense on Baker Mayfield. They had no rushing game tonight. Obviously, the injuries there have been brutal, but Rachaad White is a much worse player than Bucky Irving. You could tell there were times they wanted to just get anything out of him. And as he said, Mike Evans out, Chris Godwin was out, Cade Otton was the leading receiver, Tez Johnson was receiver number 2 in terms of yardage.
Egbuka was battling through the hamstring injury as well.
Yeah, and I totally agree that like you want to see more out of Baker Mayfield, but we've been willing to give the Lions credit for injuries. We've been willing to give the Packers credit for injuries to their offensive line. We have to be willing to give the Buccaneers some credit too.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. If you're a Bucs fan tonight, you're really disappointed because this felt like an opportunity to really seize control of the NFC. And I get that the Packers are also 3-1-1, or are they 4-1-1 now? I think they're 4-1-1.
Yeah, they're technically the 1 seed.
Yeah. But it felt like this was a statement opportunity for Tampa Bay to come in, and they just kind of got rocked. But that Tampa offense, hopefully Evans comes back, and you saw the difference early, right? How often Baker goes to him. It was an unbelievable catch before his head hit the ground. I thought it was so weird too, how Aikman and Buck, I know you don't want to assume injuries, but they're going like, this injury really could be anything. And Mike Evans is literally passed out on the field. It's his head, guys. You see it slam into the turf? Like, this is a concussion here. Hopefully the shoulder's okay. I know you were texting in the chat, could this be the end of Mike Evans? If he comes back, if Godwin comes back, a lot of ifs in this game here. You're hoping Emeka's hamstring heals up a little bit more. Bucky Irving will be back. That is not anything close to the max potential of the Buccaneers offense. And if they're able to
Mike
heal
Evans
up,
broke his collarbone.
Oh, did he break it?
I would be very surprised to see him back this season.
Oh, did he break his collarbone? Is that out?
That's a tough injury. Yeah, that's what Todd Bowles told reporters.
Oh,
I think it's very
that's
unlikely he's back this year.
It's a huge blow. It's a really, really big blow. The difference, though, because last year, right, the Evans injury and the Godwin injury sunk Tampa. The difference is this year, they do have Egbuka. This year, Tez Johnson, the rookie out of Oregon, 7th-round pick, I mean, he had some explosive plays tonight. Those guys weren't there last year. The receiving core felt a lot less depth to it. So I think they can actually still go on a run here. Like, this team is still very competitive to me, even with the Evans injury. They could survive it. They're equipped better to survive it this year than last. It's just, you forget how good he is until he's on the field. Because you think, oh, Mike Evans, hasn't had like 1,800 yard seasons. He's just consistently missed 1,000 yards. He's getting older. Then you watch him tonight, and you're like, okay, yeah, like that guy can still. And he was hurt tonight too, before he got re-injured. So it was a tough game all around for Tampa Bay. But Baker didn't have it, and if he didn't have it with the injuries they had, they were never going to win this game.
No, so this certainly we saw a lot of people saying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the best team in football this week, and whether or not you buy that, I think you have to say this changes the balance of power in the NFC. Anybody who is doubting the Detroit
wait. Changes the balance. I thought you've been in the camp of Green Bay and Detroit.
No, indeed. I'm saying from the public's perspective.
Oh, public. Okay, yes.
No, it's everybody who watched football knew this Tampa Bay Buccaneers were clearly a tier 2 team, except every single person who's paid to write about football for a living. But we'll set that aside.
I think you're right. You're right.
No, it's like we have had so many people in our comments, even in the chat right now, people are saying that the Lions were not legit, that they hadn't beaten a good team, that they'd struggled against the good team they played early in the season. At this point, you have to acknowledge the Detroit Lions are legit, and they're coming for the 1 seed in the NFC.
Just for 1 second, because then I want to pivot back to the conversation you're starting here. When the Bucs are healthy, when you get Bucky back, when you get Emeka fully healthy, if Godwin comes back and can be just, even a wide receiver 2 or 3 for them, does that change your view of Tampa? Like that has to a little bit,
to the top
right?
of tier 2.
Okay, sure. But
the Detroit Lions are a better team than because the Lions are going to get people back too. I think every week this year, the Lions will be a better team than the Buccaneers.
Okay. Yep. I agree with you on that. I just wanted to make sure that we were acknowledging that Tampa had some major injuries on the offensive side.
That was what we said in the last segment.
I just wanted to acknowledge it again. Because you came out and you were saying, how bad Tampa was. I just wanted to make sure we were clear on where Tampa fell. Okay, back to what you said, the Lions coming for the number 1 seed here. I don't know if you're going to like this take or not, Ziggy, but when I watch the Lions play football, obviously, Jared Goff is super important to this team, and he's been great since coming over from LA. The first 8 games, or the first year was horrible, and then he turned it on, and he's been unbelievable. He's been probably a top 10 quarterback in football the last few years. I really think Jahmyr Gibbs is the separating factor for this team. I know you're a Jahmyr Gibbs. I was
telling folks he was going to be the best running back in football.
Jahmyr Gibbs, he's the difference. He makes them elite to me. I think they're a great offense without him. When he's on the field, the explosiveness, the home run ability on every single play. I mean, it's terrifying to play against him. And he's just unbelievable. I think in same way that Saquon, right, last year took the Eagles to new heights. And this year we're seeing him struggle. Yeah, you like that right there? And this year we're seeing them. That was not intentional. This year we're seeing Saquon struggle a bit, and that Eagle offense doesn't look anything the same unless they're playing the Vikings and you can air it out for 330 yards and have the best passing game of your career. But you're seeing that offense look different without that elite level Saquon. Well, that elite level Saquon is what the Lions are getting with Jahmyr Gibbs, and I just think it makes them almost impossible to stop. For a whole game at least, because they can always break one.
I was talking with my roommate. The Jahmyr Gibbs had a bunch of carries for 3 or 4 yards, and he said, you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff's playing really well. Why are you handing the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs? There's so many other things you could do. Immediately after he says that, the next play, Jahmyr Gibbs breaks off a 78-yard drive. And we had someone say, if you take out the huge runs, Jahmyr Gibbs had an average game. But the reason Jahmyr Gibbs is such a dangerous player and why everyone's afraid of him in the NFL, you saw it even on that 4th down conversion, right? The Lions ran that ridiculous handoff to Amon-Ra St. Brown into crack toss option Jahmyr Gibbs. And he should have gotten tackled 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
The 4th down?
That weird he did that weird twist reach.
Oh, I want to say, on that play, I actually think that was Amon-Ra. And they didn't say it on the broadcast. It was amazing that Gibbs stayed up. But Amon-Ra, I actually tweeted that video. Amon-Ra coming in and pushing him at the end of that play, that's just another one of those things. Amon-Ra St. Brown's unbelievable. And look, guys, I know we have a lot of Lions and Packers fans in here. He's not better than Justin Jefferson. I know that's a debate that Lions fans talk about. It's not a debate that Justin Jefferson is a better receiver than Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're both top 5 receivers, elite guys. Jefferson is better, but Amon-Ra does a lot of things that contribute to winning on a week in, week out basis that you might not have them talk about too much. And I thought that play was a great example. 4th down, Gibbs is getting stopped if Amon-Ra's not coming in from behind and shoving him forward that extra.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
I just mean long yards, short yards. Jahmyr Gibbs makes plays. And the reason that the Lions like to get the ball in his hands, no matter how many other weapons they have, is because Jahmyr Gibbs can do things on the field nobody else can.
Yeah.
Right? You give him a relatively small hole run blocking, he might take it 78 yards against some of the best safeties in the NFL.
I love watching him play. Is he your favorite guy to watch play in the league right now?
I think Vita Vea might be my favorite guy to watch play in the league.
Seriously?
Which is why one reason I was so excited for this matchup.
Are you
Jahmyr
serious?
Gibbs has
You're
gotta
not
be
serious.
up there.
Vita Vea is your favorite player to watch.
Vita Vea is so much fun to watch. Are you kidding?
This is ridiculous.
Now, look, real football fans in the chat right now, let me know, is Vita Vea a fun player to watch?
Vita Vea is a fun player to watch, but I'd figure you were going to go with someone a little more explosive and someone maybe gets
Vita
the ball
Vea
in their
is
hands.
Incredibly explosive. Have you seen how good he is at run stuffing?
Okay.
Well, you asked me. You get what you get.
So, one more thing I want to mention here, the review, and I don't know if you did any research into this, when Cade Otton in the third, was that early 4th quarter, late 3rd quarter?
Yeah.
When Tampa was down, I believe at the time only 12 points, and Cade Otton had that play on 4th and 4 where he stretched out, knee hits, bang bang play. They ruled a first down on the field. Dan Campbell challenges not the spot of the ball, but he challenges the completion of the catch by Cade Otton. And we texted with Jack, big Steelers fan, as everyone knows, our co-host, that Steelers fans are getting immediate flashbacks to Jesse James, and you're thinking about Des Bryant, right? Is it a catch when these guys, to me, guys, it's obvious. If you catch the ball, take a couple steps, and you reach out, that is a catch. I don't understand. If they had ruled it incomplete, I would have freaked out. I freaked out when they ruled it incomplete for Dez. I freaked out when they ruled it incomplete for Jesse James. It doesn't make sense to me. But Detroit challenged it. And apparently what happened is they ruled it a catch, and then they called back John Hussey, the lead official, to review the spot because am I correct, Ziggy, in saying that New York called him back for that?
It's unclear. We'll have to see what the refs say after the game. What they said was we took a second look.
I'm so sick and tired of this New York phoning in stuff because it seems I don't know the rule. And if someone in the chat knows it, please tell me. It just really pisses me off that sometimes you call in, sometimes you don't. And I always feel like whatever team I'm rooting for gets hosed in those situations. Like Dan Campbell could have challenged the spot on the field and you go from there. I don't like, and then they gave Detroit back the challenge, which they had actually lost, and the timeout, which they should have lost. I just hate all of that. Let Campbell challenge it and go from there. Am I crazy for saying this?
So there's a couple things I'll say. One is once you start reviewing a play, you can review any aspect of the play if you're the referee. So like the sequence of events was they said once we've reviewed and decided that it was a catch, we're now going to decide where to spot it. Because a review had been initiated, they can do that.
Okay.
Like at the end of the day, NFL rules are extremely arcane. There's a bunch of different things that go into it, and I understand that. I think one of the things college is doing really well that I'd like to see the NFL do more of, especially as they're involving New York. I love that for ACC games, you can listen into the conversations the refs are having, because I found that gives a lot of clarity into how they're making decisions, as opposed to in the NFL, you just have the rules expert tell you what he thinks the refs are doing. Whether the refs make a call you like or not, when you understand what's going on, that's different. The thing about the NFL is you sit back like 5 minutes pass, and then it seems like they're just making decrees up out of nowhere. Whether or not that's what's happening, it makes it a tough product to watch. And the Lions, boy, especially if you can consider last week too of the Chiefs, they just keep ending up in bizarre officiating situations.
Yeah, and
it worked to their favor this week. It worked against them last week. But at a certain point, let the boys play.
Yeah, I'm not being a conspiracy theorist of these games are rigged. I'm not mad about that kind of stuff. And like obviously when it goes against the team you're rooting for, you're frustrated. But just in general, I just don't like all the calling in. At least it feels like there's no consistency to it. Because I feel like a number of times as a Viking fan, I've seen calls happen where I go, okay, can we like get a review on that? And nothing happens. And Next thing you know, something horrible happens to Minnesota. Who, speaking of horrible things happen to Minnesota, I guess Sam Darnold is just. We know Sam Darnold's really good at this point, and Seattle's up 14-0 on Houston, just absolutely kicking their ass. It's not going to get any easier, is it, this season?
Probably not. It would be really nice to have a quarterback.
Is JJ playing Thursday? Is that confirmed yet?
No, it's not confirmed. I get the sense now the way people are talking, I'm not sure he is going to play.
If you guys want to see someone lose their mind, just tune into whatever episode we put out right after
it
it's
was
announced.
During our preview show, Game Picks.
No. I'm saying if you want to see it really happen again, whenever it happened, maybe we'll do a live reaction. Maybe we'll come on and do a live reaction to JJ McCarthy out versus Chargers, and it's just me losing my mind again that our quarterback can't play. All right, that aside.
It's quite possible that we start Brosmer this week.
It's a disaster. Back to this. This is supposed to be for the Lions fans. It's a Lions show. Ziggy, you said Detroit going for the 1 seed. I'm thinking about the future of this Lions team right now. Are the injuries in the secondary? I know that a lot of those guys should be coming back. Like Branch was obviously suspended. Kirby Joseph, I don't think that's anything major. Arnold's the most serious one of all of them. DJ Reed will be back in.
And Arnold is probably the worst of those players too.
Yes, totally agree. Is there any concern about them being able to? They still have a very tough schedule coming up. Is there any concern for you as far as like shooting for that 1 seed? Like these secondary performances are going to be hard to keep up.
I mean, one of the games you would have pegged as a game where your secondary is going to get really taken advantage of would be when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers come to town, and they did it. At the end of the day, like if you look at the teams the Lions are playing that actually have like elite offenses, it's not the Vikings, it's not the Giants. Like obviously they've got a tough schedule coming up, but the Lions have an offense that can keep up with anyone. And I'll say, even compared to, I think, what Aaron Glenn did last year, Kelvin Shepherd has done a really good job working with those limitations. I know that last week against Kansas City, it didn't look as great. A lot went wrong that game. But what they showed this week is that the Lions defense can play through injuries. And if the offense had been just a little bit better, they wouldn't have even come close to the Buccaneers wouldn't have been in this game at any point. So no, I'm not super worried about the secondary, especially with people coming back. Aleem McNeil being back makes a huge difference, for instance. If your defensive line is good and your linebackers are good, you can make do, and your safeties are good, you can make do of a mediocre
Another
secondary.
big difference in the Lions' injuries last year versus this season, they were decimated across the line. Aiden Hutchinson, he's one of the best defensive players in all. He's one of the best players in all of football. And tonight on the stat sheet, he didn't have a sack. He had one official pressure or one official QB hit. I think he had 5 pressures. But that was the thing. Like he was disrupting that game time and time again. When he was out last year, that made about as big of an impact for any team in the league injury wise because he's just a monster. And if that D line can stay healthy, especially Hutchinson, it helps mask up some of the problems. The secondary, look, they did a good job tonight. Baker was, I believe, tied for 4th in the league heading into tonight, a game behind everyone in plays over 20 plus yards. And he was 0 for 7 on throws 20 plus yards downfield in this one. Or at least he was before that final drive. I don't know if he had one. And that's impressive. But also, there were a number of plays 20 plus yards downfield, especially I'm thinking that Ibuka one early in the third quarter that Baker just missed. So even though I think it was an inspired effort for sure from Detroit, a better Baker Mayfield tonight, and this is probably a closer game there at the very end. But I still don't want to take away from Detroit. That defensive effort was great.
At the end of the day, you can sit back and say a better Baker Mayfield would have done better, but Baker Mayfield played better against every team the Bucs had played before now.
Yeah,
at a certain point, you have to sit back and think, Detroit played a significant part in that.
No, they definitely did. And like I was saying before,
Baker Mayfield got 50 opportunities throwing the football.
Completely. And they had a lot of pressures. They had a lot of hits on him. They did a great job. Baker was all, and maybe that rattled him. I don't know. Maybe the environment too. The crowd was loud all night. I don't know what got to Baker, but he had a lot of overthrows. Even on completions, even on simple dump offs. You saw Tez Johnson half the time was reaching as high up as he could go to bring down a slant. Something just feels a little off with Baker tonight. But yeah, Detroit, man, right now, if you had to pick, who's your favorite to win the NFC?
To get the 1 seed or win the NFC?
Let's say get the 1 seed.
Get the 1 seed. I'm still giving it to Green Bay just because they've already beaten the Lions and will have that tiebreaker. But if you're asking me which team I think is best situated to win the NFC, I think it's Detroit.
Okay. So you, in this world, you would have Detroit going into Green Bay and winning in the playoffs?
I think they might, but regardless, I think the Lions are built for playoff football. I know that's tough to say given the track record they've had in the playoffs for the past 2 years, but they've overcome a lot of adversity. This is a team that will always show up to ready to play and can overcome basically any obstacle you put in front of them.
Totally
Unless
agree.
Aiden Hutchinson loses his leg again, I'm taking Detroit over anyone in the NFC.
The last 2 years of Detroit Lions football have showed the two main concerns I have for them. The first one last year being injuries. I really hope that doesn't happen again. No one roots for players to get hurt. Even in the NFC North, I'm sure I'm going to speak for the Packers fans as well in the comment section going at it with Detroit fans. We don't want anyone to get hurt. But at this point in time, with the way that secondary is hurt, it's a storyline for Detroit. But let's say they get everyone back. The second concern, which you know is a concern of mine, when we get into these big games in the playoffs, Detroit is very aggressive. I like it. Look, I usually like it. It cost them against San Francisco a couple years ago. If you're going to be that aggressive and it doesn't work, when you're playing the best teams in the league, it can come back to bite you. Now, look, they convert those plays like they did against Baltimore and Kansas City. That's why, I'm sorry, not against Kansas City. Like they did, I think I'm just thinking Baltimore. But you convert those plays like they did, yeah, you win big games, and you can win big games on the road. But they're risky. There is risk associated with it. And tonight,
there's risk being passive too.
There is risk being passive as well. But
right, you can ask like the Aaron Rodgers late 2010s, early 2020s Aaron Rodgers era Packers, whether being passive in the playoffs is as risky as being aggressive.
There's a time and place for everything, and that's just one little concern I have is could the Lions find themselves in a situation where they don't pick up a fourth down or two in a big game? Those are really the only concerns. Other than that, I think this team's ready to go. I guess the third one would be, you have the one, it seems like maybe 1 or 2 Goff implosion games a year. But at this point in time, with the way he's been so good for so long, I know last year he imploded in the playoff game, but that defense was giving up 50 points a game anyway. Those are the concerns, and I think all of them, you generally, by the time we get to playoff football, will be feeling pretty good if you're a Lions fan. So I know a couple people were commenting that we were going to come on here and gas up the Lions way too much. They
deserve it.
They deserve being gassed up. Tonight it really was an inspired effort. I don't feel the same way about Detroit right now that I did last year. Last year they felt a little bit more unbeatable to me, so to say. And this year I'm not quite sure what it is right now, but it just seems like they're more very good or borderline great, right? Would you agree with that?
I mean, I think this Lions team is as legit as last year.
It might take a couple more wins. I mean, tonight was a great win, and the Baltimore win on the road was a great win. I don't care what anybody says in the chat.
Well, the thing about the Lions is we'll get to find out, right? They play the Vikings, probably their biggest challenge rest of season. They play the Vikings this week, in a couple weeks coming out of the bye. Then they play the Commanders. Then they play the Eagles. If you beat those teams, you're cruising.
It is going to be fun seeing these Lions Packers back and forth.
The JJ McCarthy return game in Detroit. You better watch out, Lions fans.
Yeah, the JJ McCarthy return game.
Will JJ McCarthy have 3 interceptions or 4?
Oh, jeez.
We're going to get killed that game.
Well, I wanted to see, was there something else I wanted to talk about with this one? I don't think am I missing any big storylines from this game? I don't think there's too much on the Goff end.
I don't think so. My takeaway from this game, the Bucs are who I thought they were. The Detroit Lions are who I thought they were. And at this point, if we're doing weekly power rankings like we do, I'm probably putting the Detroit Lions at number 1 where they should be.
Yeah, we'll get to that later this week if you want to see the power rankings. I feel pretty good about my top 2, top 3 at the moment. I think we're actually probably on the same page. It's usually you and Jack who are wildly different. So we'll see if that winds up rearing its head as we get into power rankings. All right, I think we could just about get ready to wrap this thing up. I'm trying to think, is there any other sort of look ahead question that could be fun?
I don't know. We've done the division. We've done the 1 seed. Maybe we should finish. We got a couple super chats during the show.
Yeah. Could you read those out?
Yeah. So we got 3 super chats during the show. One is from Bad Perok. That's funny. This came immediately after you said it. He said Baker looked off tonight.
Yeah. That's completely true. It was disappointing because you can't look. He's still in the MVP running, of course, but this was a game where if they go into Detroit and win it the way they did last year, MVP hype would have really, really picked up. Who's the favorites right now? Did they adjust it post game?
Right now, Baker has dropped a little bit. Mahomes is plus 125.
Then probably Allen.
Yeah, Allen's plus 370. Baker's plus 700. Drake May plus 900. Stafford plus 1,000.
Drake May is 4th in MVP. Oh my gosh.
Jared Goff. Okay, hold on.
Wow.
Why is Drake May ahead of Jared Goff?
Well, I can tell you why.
Because people are fools.
No, the reason why people would argue it is that Goff has Jahmyr Gibbs, who I think that's the guy that makes him elite. Goff has the elite offensive line with Amon-Ra St. Brown, David Montgomery too. There's more around Goff. People view Goff as the system.
I'll tell you the actual reason why Mahomes is way ahead of Goff. It's because Mahomes won and Goff lost.
No, we're talking May versus Goff.
Yeah, but it's like Mahomes will beat Goff every time, and then why is Drake May up there? Well, he's the exciting next thing.
I mean, the page Drake May's having a great season.
Way better than Drake May this year, and I don't want to hear it.
I think he is, but there's certainly more around Jared Goff than Drake May. I mean, Drake May is Ramondre, who you can't stand anymore with the fumbling issues. Travion Henderson, who hasn't been good. Kayshon Boutte, who's kind of having an emergence. It's Matt Collins.
No longer living up to his name.
Diggs is having a good year. But there's certainly more in Detroit for Goff to work with. People view Goff as a system quarterback. Whether that's right or wrong, that's how people are viewing him. And Drake May, yeah, you're right. He is like the hot new kid in town. Dude's 4-2?
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. Jonathan Taylor is 12th in MVP voting.
Well, you know I love running backs. You know I'm a running back guy.
Jonathan Taylor's tied with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, man, it's
gonna hurt. Wins MVP, I might cry on it.
It's gonna hurt all year. One other thing about May, maybe why he's up there, Ziggy, the Patriots have a real chance of winning like 12 or 13 games, and it's not out of question. I can't believe I'm gonna say this. It's not out of question that the Patriots can end the year with the 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean they can certainly win their division.
And if you're winning the East, you have a shot at the 1 seed. Like you just will, because Buffalo's going to win a lot of games. I know people are down on them right now. When that schedule is seriously so light that if New England can be as good as they've looked the past few weeks, you get a 13-win New England team, 1 seed. Drake May could be in the MVP conversation. I will say that
13-win New England team requires them losing 1 game rest of season.
What are they? No, 2, right? Are 4
you're right. They'd be 13-4.
And that would be an extraordinary year. And maybe if they are 13-4, you have to consider May as an MVP candidate. But I still think it's pretty unlikely at this point in time. Sorry, what were the other super chats? I have a
we got a couple more here. This one is from D Mize. Congrats on Lions fans on your first win versus a winning team. You finally have a good win. I'll say one thing. Looking at wins versus teams of winning, like over 500 winning percentage, like week 6 is really silly. Mm-hmm. Why? Because if you beat the team, this dramatically decreases their chance of having a win percentage over 500, right? These things are like not independent. That win over the Ravens was a good win. I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah, I'll stand by that as well.
This one is from Byrne, who's quickly becoming one of my favorite chatters on the Paul Farrington show. Green Bay is to go into Thanksgiving with 4 days rest after going through the Steelers, Eagles, Giants, and Vikings. Have a good night then, Packers fans. I know I will.
Look, I'm really happy to throw the Vikings. The Vikings are a good team, Ziggy. Like we're not bad. We're just a couple atrocious quarterback plays away a game from being really competitive. Even with Wentz. Like with Wentz, I still think we're a tough team to beat week in and week out. It's just, is Carson gonna, have a horrendous intentional grounding, throw a pick six? You just don't know. But yeah, like it's still too early. I love the schedule game as much as anyone else. Still a little too early to start playing the schedule game with, like, who are the Packers or Lions going to be able to win the one seed or the division? I know we played it earlier, but it truly is a little too early to have any real credence behind that.
And then we've got a chat. This is not a super chat, but this is a chat from longtime member RBF. May, Knicks, even Caleb now, and JJ McCarthy can't get on the field and hasn't looked good for 7 out of 8 quarters when he actually played. Hard not to be depressed right now. I totally agree, RBF. It's tough to be a Vikings fan.
I mean, it is amazing how Caleb's 4-2 and has looked really good the past few weeks. May is 4-2 and is number 4 in the MVP rankings. Jaden Daniels is banged up. The Commanders aren't off to a hot start.
He still looks good.
He's amazing. He's really good. And Penix, I still don't really know how I feel about Penix. But he's had a couple of really good games this year. He's had some clunkers, but
now he's hurt too.
Yeah, no, he's hurt as well. JJ is, and Nix, and Nix, I actually like Bo Nix. We are clearly at this point in time the losers of. This is unbelievable. All right,
hold on. Are you saying it's unbelievable the Minnesota Vikings took a quarterback and it's not working out?
It's unbelievable to me that there are 6 quarterbacks in the draft and we got the one who right now just. Every single other guy, there's at least something positive to build on. And with JJ, I mean, I guess we could go back to the fourth quarter for the 100th time now. But it's still too early to totally freak out, though. He hasn't played. He hasn't played. I'm gonna be furious. All right, let's wrap this up here.
Wrap it up, Paul.
All right, we appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight. Lions, big 24-9 win. Seahawks look like they're about to blow out the Texans, the Texans suck, too. I'm sorry, I don't like I hate being one of those guys who's like, they suck. This team's bad. Texans are really bad. And CJ Stroud, from like the moment that he pulled Caleb Williams over and was telling him what he needs to do to succeed in the league, it's just kind of been downhill since then. So Seattle now, Jack's going to have them really high in the power ranking this week. And they're a good team. Their defense is really good. All right, we'll wrap it up there. We'll see you guys. When will we see you? We'll see you on Wednesday behind Enemy Lines.
Yeah, with our
NFC
show,
North dive.
behind Enemy Lines with Andy Herman. And he's going to have some things to say about the Packers for sure.
Yeah, no, look, the NFC North, even with the Vikings loss this week, the teams
once again the most exciting and most competitive division in football.
What a surprise. By far. Yeah, it's an awesome year to be an NFC North show. All right, we'll see you guys soon. All right, ended there.